Being a ball boy was the first step for many players before stepping onto the pitch as professionals. Pep Guardiola, for example, couldn't resist celebrating like one of the players after a Barca win in the Champions League. Before making it big, Brahim Diaz got to learn from the best right on the sidelines at Malaga. The same thing happened with Matthijs de Ligt at Ajax, Gavi at Barcelona, Rodrigo at Santos, and Mateo Kovacic with the Croatian national team. The most recent case is Aleksandar Pavlović. He's only 20, but he's been with Bayern Munich since 2011. That's 14 years at the club. As soon as he was old enough to be a ball boy, he was already posing for pictures on the pitch with the players he looked up to. Gavi joined FC Barcelona 10 years ago, coming from Real Betis. Lamine Yamal, even though he's younger, is technically more of a veteran. He joined Barca a year earlier, in 2014 when he was just 7. Alejandro Balde was also 7 years old when he arrived in 2011. Back then, Pep Guardiola was still managing the first team. Today, Balde is 21, and he's spent 2/3 of his life at Barcelona. Nicolò Savona is someone we only got to know this season after he finally debuted with Juventus' first team at 21 and a half. But even though he's young, he's already a Juventus veteran. He joined the club back in 2011, at just 8 years old. The only time he played elsewhere was in 2020, when he was loaned to Spal's youth team. Bukayo Saka was born in 2001, and has been with Arsenal for 17 years. That means he joined the club at just 7. A little gem they snatched from Watford. From day one, everyone who saw him knew he was going places. And they were right. He made his first team debut in 2018, 10 years after joining, and he's been growing ever since. His kind face and calm demeanor haven't changed since that little kid walked into the club in 2008. Jarell Quansah, the big centre-back at Liverpool, has already made 55 first-team appearances. But how many times has he worn the Liverpool shirt at any level throughout his life? Easily over 600. Most of those matches as captain. He's now 22. And has been with Liverpool since 2008, when he was just 5 years old. The only time he left was in 2023, when he went on a 6-month loan to 3rd division side Bristol Rovers. Francesco Totti spent 28 years at Roma, Daniele De Rossi 19 years. And now Lorenzo Pellegrini has racked up 18 years with the club, 10 in the academy and 8 with the first team, not counting the 2 seasons he spent on loan at Sassuolo. He was only 9 when he passed the trials to join the club back in 2005, back when he was just another fan watching from the stands at the Stadio Olimpico. Now he's Roma's captain, born and raised in the city. Of course, otherwise, moving at that age would have been a lot harder. José Gayá, a 29-year-old left-back, was called up to Euro 2020 and the Qatar 2022 World Cup for Spain, although he had to miss the latter due to a last-minute injury. Besides playing for Spain, he's only ever played for Valencia. He joined the club in 2006. 19 years ago, when Valencia had a squad full of legends: Cañizares, Albelda, Albiol, Ayala, Silva, Villa, Joaquin. The problem? Gayá was just 11 then. By the time he made his professional debut 6 years later, that golden era was already gone. Chelsea has one of the strongest academies in the world, and also one of the most underused. They really give real chances to their homegrown players. But with Reece James, they had no choice. He was only 6 when he joined Chelsea in 2006. Fast forward 19 seasons and here he is, battling it out with Phil Foden as one of the Premier League's top right backs. Ironically, he didn't make his pro debut with Chelsea, but instead with Wigan Athletic, where he went on loan in 2018 to gain experience. Back in 2004, Inter Milan had a stacked squad, but despite the talent, the club was in deep depression. Calciopoli was still 2 years away from shaking things up in Italian football. Meanwhile, Porto were lifting the Champions League trophy. Once Caldas won the Copa Libertadores. Greece shocked the world by winning the Euros. And a 6-year-old Federico Dimarco joined Inter's youth academy. That was 21 years ago. Dimarco was born in Milan. His family ran a small fruit and vegetable shop in the Porta Romana neighborhood, and they still do, even now that their son is a millionaire. After 10 years in Inter's youth ranks, Dimarco made his pro debut in 2014, but the road back to San Siro wasn't easy. He had to grind his way through Ascoli, Empoli, Suicide Sion, Parma and Verona, before finally returning to Inter, where he became one of the best left-backs on the planet. Now, who would even think of enrolling a 4-year-old into Manchester City's academy? Well, Phil Foden's family did, and that was 21 years ago. At the time, City was a completely different team. They were fighting relegation almost every season. In fact, in that 2004 season when Phil joined, City finished 16th in the Premier League standings. But little Phil never stopped loving his club. He got to walk out onto the pitch with the players way before making his debut. And slowly, word started spreading about a brilliant little lefty cooking quietly in City's academy. Before dominating the Premier League, City was dominating youth competitions with future stars like Jadon Sancho or Brahim Diaz. But the only one who had the quality and patience to break into the first team was Phil Foden. Now, if the rumors are true, Trent Alexander-Arnold will sign for Real Madrid in a few months, ending a 21-year run with Liverpool. It all started in 2005, the year the Reds pulled off the miracle in Istanbul and won the Champions League. Of course, Trent didn't play a single minute. He was only 5 years old at the time. But yes, he was already in the Liverpool academy. He made his pro debut 11 years later, in 2016, against the Spurs. And the rest is history. Dan Burn made his debut for the England national team at 32. Late bloomer? Maybe. But turning things around when it seems too late has always been his specialty. Burn, who's 6 feet 7 inches, plays for his childhood club, Newcastle United. But it wasn't always a fairy tale. They cut him from the youth academy at age 11. It crushed him. He had to figure things out, worked at a grocery store, played for a bunch of different clubs, and finally made it back home at 30, through the only door big enough to fit him, the front door. At Real Madrid, if there was one academy player everyone believed could become world-class and earn a permanent first-team spot, it was Dani Carvajal. No wonder they picked him, out of all the youth players, to lay the first stone, alongside Alfredo Di Stefano, at the new Valdebeva's training ground. Carvajal joined Real in 2002 at just 10 years old. Today, he's spent 23 years at the club. That includes a one-year loan at Bayer Leverkusen in 2012 and 2013 to gain experience, though that stops him to being a one-club man. In an era where being a Real Madrid starter and a homegrown player almost seem incompatible, Carvajal has done both. Think Diego Simeone has been forever at Atletico? Well, he's got nothing on Koke. The Atletico captain joined the club 11 years before the Argentine coach did. Back in 2000, when Koke was just 8 years old. Born in the working-class neighborhood of Vallecas, Koke has worn the Atletico shirt for 25 straight years. He made his pro debut in 2009 and has played more games than anyone in club history. But sadly, it looks like he won't be able to fulfill his dream of being a one-club man. His contract expires this June, and there's no renewal on the table. Thomas Müller was just one of the 2,600 people living in a small Bavarian town called Paul, when he traveled 50 kilometers to train with Bayern Munich for the first time at age 10. It was the year 2000, and it was just the beginning. Since then, Müller has trained with the same club, in the same place, following the same routine, for 25 straight years. But that's coming to an end. The most capped player in Bayern history is counting down his final days at the only club he's ever known. Nico Williams was born in Pamplona and spent a year at Osasuna, until he joined his older brother Iñaki at Athletic Club in 2013, when Nico was just 11. Iñaki was 19 and already signing his first pro contract. It didn't take long for everyone to realize that little Nico might be the more talented brother. In 2021, Nico made his La Liga debut. He's now spent 12 years at Athletic, more than half his life. Iñaki's been at the club 1 year longer, but he wasn't a kid when he arrived. He joined when he was 18, and he's been with the Lions ever since. And finally, Iago Aspas. And aside from short stints in Liverpool and Sevilla, he joined Celta de Vigo in 1995, when he was just 8 years old. Of course, he started as a ballboy at Balaidos, and while he isn't technically a one-club man, Aspas currently holds the record for longevity with one club, 28 years playing for Celta across different divisions. Just 3 fewer than Paolo Maldini's legendary run with AC Milan.